Welcome to the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast with psychologist Dr. Doreen Downing. Listen in as Doreen interviews people who felt they didn't have a voice or who suffered extreme speaking anxiety. You'll hear stories about how they struggled to speak up, what they did to find their authentic voice, and the confidence they now feel to speak up and make an impact. If you want to get started right away to find your voice, download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. And now, here is Doreen.
Hi, this is Dr. Doreen Downing. I'm host of the Find Your Voice, Change Your Life podcast. I'm a psychologist, and for years I've sat in my office being with people who struggle with whatever it happens to be, showing up in life. And now in this podcast, I get to interview people. I mean, it's not a therapy session, but I get to be with people in a deep, kind of meaningful way that has the listeners at least being tuned into, well, what's it like for people to really face not having a voice, and what did it take for them? So I've had the pleasure in my office to listen to so many stories, but now I get to listen out loud, you might say, or share out loud. This is something that I am really pleased to be able to move into today with Lesley Nase. Is that how you say your name?
It is.
Nase? Yes. Lesley, welcome today.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's something about finding people on the internet and connecting, and there's something intuitive about it, it feels like, and something synchronistic about it. And I feel that's partly how we met. Somebody knows me and somebody knows you and went, ooh, let's connect them.
Absolutely. That was how we met. Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's always a nice synergy when that happens as well.
Yeah, you already know something's between us that connects us. I mean, there's something that connects everybody anyway, but it
Hmm.
does seem like whoever thought about you and me as collaborative ways, I thought, well, let's explore this. So you sent a bio to me, and before we launch into talking about your story, I'd like to read that bio so people
Okay.
have more of a sense of how brilliant you are. Yes. So here we go. Lesley Nase is creator and CEO of Intuitive Animal Healing and is a certified core communication coach for businesses. She is host of Books, Yarns, and Tales on Win Win Women TV. I sometimes harder to say, huh? Win
It
Win
is.
Women TV, Apple
Right.
TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Her podcast, The Client Whispers, is set to be released January 2023. Oh, I can't wait to be one of the people that you get to interview. Her gift and her passions have allowed her to help people and pets access their innate healing abilities to get to the root of their imbalances and restore themselves to optimal health naturally and holistically. Sometimes I like to comment as I'm reading your bio, but naturally and holistically feels like something that I want people to hear, that healing can be natural and holistic, and you have a lot to do with that because you guide others through insight and wisdom as an
Hmm.
intuitive shamanic healing practitioner, frequency healing coach, and end of life specialist. And it's entrepreneurs who hire Lesley to get to the core of communication because most fail to speak the language of their listener and are missing out on communications, relationships, and resolutions to maximize success. She helps break down communication barriers to leverage conversations for, here we go, I like this part, leverage conversations for collaborations. I'm going to say that again, collaborations and conversions. So people who are in business, that's what we want, is more collaboration and of course conversions.
Mm.
And then lastly, when Lesley's not out walking or hiking with her dogs, you can find her curled up with a good book and her cat. Oh, Well, do we need to go on? It's just like, hey, folks, go look her up. She's amazing.
You have that type of voice that just makes me want to lean in and settle down and listen.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's my business is
Yeah, yeah.
drawing people in, but drawing them down into themselves too. So let's see. Today is about finding your voice, and I'm sure you have stories about what that challenge was for you in your life. And maybe we start there, just dive as deep as you can into anything that you have to say when you think about, what was my voice like when I was young? And what are some of the stories?
I think one of my favorite stories is actually my mom's favorite story. She's 93 years old and she still gets a chuckle out of when I was a little girl and we were walking down the street hand in hand to go visit my dad. And usually I was this bright, energetic, outgoing child, she'd say. And there was this point that I started scuffling my feet and stomping down. And she stopped and she looked at me, and I had this frown on my face. And she goes, "What's the matter?" And I said, "I don't like people staring at me." And my mother, with this twinkle in her voice, just kind of replied, "Did you forget to smile at them?"
Mhm, mhm,
And with that, I had a great big grin on my face and I started skipping down the road again. You know,
mhm.
those kind of words of wisdom, the things that we say to our children get ingrained in us. And this is part of the work that I do as a core communication person to help they get ingrained. It's like this, like we're a big computer. We got a hard drive. That's our subconscious. And everything's programmed in there and it's on this loop and it feeds back. So for me, that was important lesson for the listeners who are just listening and not visually seeing this. I have a port wine stain, a birthmark, that runs like in my head a little bit above my ear and down to almost my heart. It just ends there. And so my visibility has always been out in that world. And that sense of curiosity for people, it's like, what's that on your face? And that I get from children still, but I get it from adults at times too. And to be able to handle that with that ease and to disarm people in ways with that smile on my face is a silent way of communicating. It's a silent way of having a voice in the world because when you smile, and whether you're talking with a smile or not, it comes through in your words and your language. And it disarms the other person. The smile can put somebody else at ease and they kind of sigh and they're with you and it's everything's okay, you know? And once you satisfy that initial question, especially if the young children, again, I mean, I never mind when some young child goes, "What's that on your face?" And I'll smile at them. You know, the parent might say, "Oh, quiet, don't say anything." But depending on how I read the situation, I most often might reply, "That's a birthmark. It's just like your skin, but a little different color. I see you have freckles, or you have brown eyes, or blue eyes, or your skin is darker than most of my skin." You know, whatever it is that makes us all different and all unique. And we all have that inner voice that wants to come out and be unique in many ways.
What a lovely way to start our conversation, Leslie, by that moment that it was so profound for you in terms of a
Mm,
smile. And then you took it to the idea that a smile is part of the way that we express ourselves, and expressing ourselves doesn't have to be verbal. It could be
right.
nonverbal, and a smile is a voice. I never thought of it that way. I love that idea of, hey, a smile is you voicing something and it's energy, communicating good, positive energy. outward.
Yeah.
I see your little cat in the background with the tail wagging. That's cute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's on that's right. She's on the chair, and I got a dog at my feet here. Normally I disregard them when I'm on here.
Oh
But
no, they are here with you.
oh yeah. Oh, they definitely are. The dog next to me is she knows this isn't not a normal time in which I sit in the chair, so she always has to come and check out and see what's going on. So
Hello.
she's
Hello.
up, she's satisfied. But when you were talking about the smile or the energy of something, as a intuitive animal communicator and the shamanic healing practitioner part of that, is that when I communicate with animals, they're not in the room with me. They're somewhere else. So I see them in energy form. And so sometimes I have to pick up on the cues of their body language or some of the energy that I'm picking up as the thought process because they don't necessarily speak in words, but they do speak in emotions and feelings and they shoot pictures back at me. So all of that is a sense of communication.
Oh, yes. And when you talk about animals, I'm thinking about the little kids that you talked about, like little animals going, whoo, look at this. This is different. And
Yeah,
holding them, like what society does is hold them back, right?
right. And
Excuse me.
bless you.
They hold them back from their curiosity and no, no,
Hmm.
no. And that way of I don't know, I was thinking about shaming or some way in saying, no, don't speak up and don't ask somebody because they look different. And you're saying, I just love the way you go, hey kid, it's okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
explain it in a way that is positive so that they get to, I think in a way, Lesley, in a way, it feels like you're teaching when you respond in that way.
Most definitely. And I think that was some of my upbringing that there was always like a story. Even when I was young, I do remember my older brother telling people like what it was. But it was always the sense of a gift. You know, whether it was a gift of God or today I would say a gift from spirit, it is the gift that I carry with me. And when you talk about being visible or having a voice, this is one gift that I can't necessarily hide because it is visible. It does mean that I stand out in the crowd. And there are many, many people who stand out in the crowd. And I think I was really blessed with the family that I have. I was one of five, right in the middle. And from my coming along in the middle, and my younger brother, who was born with spina bifida and is a paraplegic, it was like a natural fit in this family that okay, he fell down, he gets up, he keeps going, and that's just how we treated everybody with respect and moved on. So it wasn't nothing stood out. It was okay, whatever it
Mhm.
was.
Yeah, well, you certainly model acceptance, and it feels like what I just said, you teach acceptance. And that's
Yeah.
what, not only the people who have some kind of difference, you might say, and learning to accept that, but those people around them who consider them different, learning more about acceptance
Mm.
and inclusion. I mean, that's what we're talking
Yeah.
about nowadays,
Yeah.
inclusion and
Yeah.
diversity. And well, you mentioned something in one of our emails. You mentioned high school and doing drama, I guess, theater.
Mm-hmm.
Say something about how that either helped you come out more or something about your voice.
For me, when I found theater and I was lucky. I mean, I grew up in a small town, but what I was lucky about is that in junior high, because it was a small town, you could be part of the high school productions. So I got many years because our teacher came when I had like 6 years from junior high till I graduated to be able to do drama under his tutelage. He was our music teacher and he loved putting on plays or musicals and things. So quite often, it's not a sense of hiding who you are, but it's becoming a different character. And so when you're on a stage and when you're performing, you are not the you see in the mirror. You are someone else and you are captivating everybody in that audience on the stage. And so that it frees you up as a person because you get to try on different hats, you know? In one play, I was a blonde bombshell, um, complete with figure, kind of saying. And in another play, I was a baroness, a very rich character. Uh, so that allows a sense of voice in trying out things. And the other part that I probably didn't mention in the email was that as during those times, I often had laryngitis. And I would have laryngitis that would last a week to almost 3 weeks. And I can remember one in particular play that we were doing that I had lost my voice, and yet I had to perform. And so here I was behind stage with a big bowl of hot water, and at that time it was like Vicks Vapo Rub in the water, towel over my head, breathing all of this in, trying to gain some kind of voice. And yet the magical part to me was that when I stepped on that stage that night, I had a voice. I had the voice of that character. And it was almost like I had stepped out of Lesley as she is and stepped into that character as that character was. And so it was just, to me, it was like magic, like the first magic long before Harry Potter. So, I love that sense of what you can create. And that has carried on through adulthood as well and has helped me be on stage as through the years as a storyteller. I've done that in aspects when I've been teaching um, workshops, shamanic workshops, when I used to do those in person. And up until the present time, I'm going to go into the next little bit of what really helped me to stand out on the stage, because no matter what we do, we look in that mirror, and reflected back at us sometimes is again some of those tapes that we hear that we're not good enough, that who will want me for something, how do I stand up and be accounted for when there's probably other talented people out there. And what happened to me about a year ago was I had a coach. She was part of a team, and she said to me, she says, Lesley, when Women TV show is starting, I think you'd be great at it. Here's the person that you sign up and you go and talk to them. I thought when I did that this is going to be an interview. She's going to like look at me and determine whether I am a good fit for TV or not. And I had convinced myself I was probably not a good fit. This was probably, I mean, she is a beautiful, graceful, all-inclusive woman. But when she said, so when would you like to start your TV show? I went, what? Me? You want me as one of the TV hosts? Are you sure? We doubt ourselves, and that's part of doubting our voice, doubting our ability. And it's again, it was like stepping on the stage. And every week when I produce my show, I love it. I love either interviewing people, and better yet, I love teaching for at least half an hour live every week. And that's what I'm really excited about, the Client Whispers podcast, because I'll hone in on clients and what we need to hear.
What you just said, I think, is important for people to hear was your vulnerability when you doubted yourself and you just didn't pretend, oh, yeah, of course I made it. You know, you didn't put on the, I don't know, the exterior tough girl stance. You became real vulnerable and said, really? You want me? And I think that is so precious and it's so real and it's so authentic. And it's probably part of why the person said, yes, when can we start? When can you start?
I think so as well. You know, and there's opportunities to say yes, not to hide behind whatever you think is going on in your head or in your body, or, you know, I believe that uh, this is if I can open up a billion hearts and touch that inner guidance for people, that they find their own divine inner guidance, then that's part of my job. That's part of my mission here in life, because we all have a voice within inside and we all have our own discernment as to what's right for us.
And learning to listen to what that is. And I
Yeah.
like that idea of it's almost like a book title of reaching or touching one, was it billion or million?
Oh
Doesn't
no,
matter.
I went for a billion. Let's
Yeah,
keep going, you know.
yeah.
A million is what I want to make, but a billion, you know, that's how many people you want to touch, and you never know how many you're
Oh,
going to end up touching in what way.
touch a billion, make a million. There you go.
I love it. That's great.
Well, before we have to end, I'd like to make sure people know how to reach you and if there's anything else you want to say about what you do offer.
Yeah, so Lesley at lesleynase.com. That email is probably one of the easiest, although there is Intuitive Animal Healing. It's a .net, that's the website, or .com um, is the email address. But I'm on LinkedIn. You can certainly find me there and connect that way. And what did you else did you ask me? I'm like, did I cover
Well,
it all?
we just really want to, you know, people are probably excited about who you are and some of the messages that they've heard
Yeah.
today. And they said, you know, the more, how do I find her and how do I follow up? And
I think, you know, if you, especially for the core communication, following me on LinkedIn is great because I do put events that I have coming up in that. I know that for Win Win Women, I'll be speaking about actually money mindset in November. And then in December, there is a core communication workshop going on. So, you know, I have a free core assessment tool, and core is an acronym. So you can find out like what personality type, although I hate to use personality because it's more than that. It is your communication style is really it. And it's all about how finding about it yourself, how do you talk to somebody else, and knowing what to say and how to say it in any given situation.
what does the C, the O, and the R and the E stand for?
So the C is for catalyst, the O is for optimizer, and the R is for the relator, and the E is for expert.
Oh, those
So
are the areas like kind of the core of what core energies or something?
well, no, those are the core areas. It's a code to help you in the assessment you take. It'll
Uh-huh.
help you find out in which one you're stronger. And
Uh-huh.
you could be strong in two, but usually one is a little higher than the other. So then what I do is I usually talk to somebody after they take the assessment, and we talk about what the results are and how you might use that in your business and how it would be good for you. And the upcoming workshop in December is actually a perfect time for that, because the founder of Core is going to be there to do some of the teaching. And, you know, it was her brainstorm that she just went and took all kinds of personality tests and kind of ripped them apart and
Yes.
put them back together again and put it in the terms of Jane M. Powers. And, and she says, okay, this is workable, this is doable, this is how I can help people with their conversations, with their relationships, and how you get to those collaborations and conversions.
There we are, full circle.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much, Lesley.
You're welcome. Thank you. I so appreciate being here, and I look forward to having you on my show.
Yeah.
Thank you for being with us today for this episode of Find Your Voice, Change Your Life. Each person during interviews shares what has helped them find their voice. You can learn from these guests and find your voice so you can be confident to speak up and speak out. And remember to download Doreen's free 7-step guide to fearless speaking at doreen7steps.com. We hope you enjoyed the show and will return next time. Until then, goodbye for now.